Coming to you live from the offices of Chapter One Films in Charlotte, North Carolina, this is the 4D Podcast with your hosts, Nathanael Levinson, Greg Prinz, and Liam Maxwell. A new dimension in entertainment. This is the 4D Podcast.
Nathanael, welcome back.
Wow. We are. I would say we are back, but we are not really back.
We is -1.
We is relative, I guess.
We encompasses two as well, but all that to say, Mr. Levinson is running late.
We too are back.
Yeah, we are back.
The two of us.
And it's good to be back, Greg.
It is good to be back.
Yeah.
Good to see you, friend.
This is when's the last time we had a live one? Like a month ago.
We've had some problems in the studio. I've made my complaints known with Jakob. He promptly
he actually forgot we were still
He promptly
doing this.
said that we suck afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh, my freaking soundboard's down.
You guys suck.
That's what he said.
He's
to
like,
me.
you guys are still doing this?
He woke up from a daze.
Yeah.
He was in his giant bed with a couple other people, and then he woke up and he's just like, "You guys suck."
Yeah.
And then he went back to bed.
He's like, I stopped the funding for that months ago.
So we had a little hiccup with the live show last couple weeks. I know the show two shows ago, real jumpy. We got the feedback, and so the following show we tried to make those adjustments. Didn't really work out, so we had to pre-record. Just got uploaded today. But we are back live.
We're back. It's
So
good to be
back.
live. We can interact with our viewers.
Who's
out there? Put it in the chat.
It's so good. That reminds me, if you are in chat and you can't, if you're watching and you're wondering why you can't comment and join along with us, it's because you haven't liked or subscribed. So go like and subscribe to the page. It helps us out. And we would love to chat with you. Love to hear your thoughts on these movies. And what are the movies we were talking about today, Mr. Liam?
We are talking about the recently released in theaters Mickey 17 and the Irish classic, The Boondock Saints, in honor of St. Patrick's Day. So that was our justification. We picked what I would say is the most relevant movie
for
out
sure.
in theaters
For
right
sure.
now.
Yeah.
Mickey 17.
It was a movie we needed to watch.
Yeah.
Certainly.
It's a lot of discourse about it.
Yep.
Not between me and Greg. We haven't talked about it.
Haven't
actually.
said a word about either of these movies with each other, so very, very anxious to get to it.
You have no idea what I think about either of these.
No, that was me controlling the buttons, so Liam did
Right.
not hit the horn or anything on either of those movies. I am curious to know what you did for St. Patty's Day. How was that for you?
It was great. I went to the Whitewater Center.
Oh, you did the whole green.
They painted the river green.
Well, you don't paint. Yeah, I mean, you dye it, but
They dyed the river green.
there you go.
And it was great. I literally sat in 2 hours of traffic
To get there,
to get there. Have you ever been to the Whitewater Center?
like a million times.
There's one road to get.
But yeah. Like you get there, and then you're a mile and a half away.
There's one road. There's literally one way.
You get to like
there.
the entrance, it's like the Whitewater Center, and then it's about a mile and a half to get to the parking lot of one lane road. And that was the one thing that kept me from going, because I was looking at all the things going on. I'm like, oh, Whitewater Center is always chill.
Yeah.
You can just kind of sit out on the lawn, have a drink, watch people whitewater raft, and they're gonna dye the whole water green.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pass, because that's gonna be so you sat in 2 hours of that stuff.
I didn't know I was going to be sitting in 2 hours.
It's brutal, man.
The other funny St. Patrick's note is I was sitting at work yesterday, and my friend texted me. He's like, "Yo, we're bar crawling today."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Is my friend an alcoholic? What are we celebrating?" And
You
then
had no idea?
I had to, like the actual day was yesterday.
Oh, so yesterday, did you go bar crawl yesterday?
No.
Oh, you degenerate.
I was
Thank God.
like, what? Is my friend unemployed? But then I had to be reminded.
do you
that this is the
do you
actual
have
St.
9 to
Patrick's Day.
5? Do you have a 9 to 5, man?
And I was like, yeah, no. And then like I was talking to my roommate, and I was like, yeah, it's pretty normal. It's St. Patrick's Day. I was like, that's right. It is St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
And I am Irish, so it's a special holiday for
Are
me.
you really Irish?
Very much so.
Okay.
90%.
Well, I discovered that Irish car bombs, I kind of like them.
They're great.
I really like. At first, I was like, again, I'm not typically grabbing for a Guinness.
Yeah.
Like, it's not my go-to.
Mhm.
An ice cold Guinness, and you put some Irish cream in it.
It's good.
It's pretty great,
It's good.
honestly. Like
It's
I
really good.
had two Saturday nights. So
Yeah.
Nathaniel made a bunch of food. We had some Irish car bombs. We watched Boondock Saints, and then the next day, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have another one. Just
Nice.
by myself. I had all the stuff there. Made another one.
They go down smoothly.
Ah, they're so good, and you got to drink it cold. Even though apparently, like, that's not how you're supposed to drink Guinness. You're like, oh, Guinness is supposed to be room temperature.
People
it's
are
more
pretentious
bubbly.
about Guinness.
I'm like, that sounds terrible. It sounds
Yeah.
like sludge.
Yeah.
Like you're just drinking like a dark mucus.
People are very pretentious about Guinness.
Yeah, no, not me. But
You ever hear the? So like Irish car bombs are like I don't know if they still are, but they were like a big issue in Ireland. Like it was like a terrorist attack.
yeah, so I did.
And we're just like, oh,
it
just buy out some Irish car bombs.
It escapes my mouth as if it's just like the easiest thing to say because it's just a drink. It's just
American
like, Irish car bomb.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty rough.
It would be like
That'd be like oh, it's a 911. Just pour me a 911.
like in Ireland, they're like, yeah, you ever have a 911? Pretty good. Goes down smoothly.
Woof.
Jeez.
All right, so let's actually get into these movies. So I, because it was part of the whole weekend, watched Boondock Saints on Saturday night after some St. Patty's Day festivities with Nathanael, and it really completed the whole thing for me. It was it's such a great movie. So am curious to know what you guys think. I'm gonna give the rundown. This is an older movie. I'm gonna give the rundown of what this movie is. So it follows two Irish Catholic dudes, Murphy, and I forget the other guy's name.
Connor.
And they're just drinking at an Irish bar. It's St. Patty's Day, and they end up kind of scuffling with the Russian mob. Like they just get into a bar fight because they're Irish, and this is kind of what they do. And they end up like beating these guys up, and the guys show up the next day to kill him and his brother. And they end up killing these two guys, kind of in a miraculous way. They turn themselves in because the other main character of the movie is Willem Dafoe, who's a crime scene investigator, but he's just like the man. Like he's amazing. He puts on music and he can just recreate everything. He's the greatest character in the movie. So they turn themselves into him. They tell him everything that happened. It was self-defense. Then they go on their way. But then they get like this prompting from God, essentially, to go out and basically be the sword of like to be God's wrath on all the nasty people out there. So then they just start taking down mobsters. They start with the Russian mob, and they go after the Italian mob. They kind of team up with their goofy friend who has got connections to all these bad people. Here, I'll turn your mic on. Sorry.
The
Rocco,
third guy.
Rocco is the worst.
So it's kind of funny. It's kind of cool. There's some really I think the best scenes are probably had when Willem Dafoe comes in and recreates what happens. The movie does a really neat job of leading up into this big climax, and then it'll stop, and it'll start with Willem Dafoe walking into the scene, and everything's just torn to shreds, and then he recreates it so that you get to watch it again. That's done 2 or 3 times throughout the movie. And it crescendos with them kind of taking down the big mob syndicate, but then he gets taken into police custody, and he's about to kind of get out on bail, and then it's revealed that their main boogeyman, the Italian mob's main boogeyman, is actually spoiler alert, the father of the 2 Irish kids. This is found out because the father hears them doing their prayer right before they execute somebody, which is a family prayer that nobody else knows. And so he realizes it's them. So then he says, hey, well, we got to keep doing this because we're prompted by God, essentially. And so then they go into the courtroom with some help from Willem Dafoe and the other cops that kind of are on their side about this stuff. And they take down the big mob boss, and that's the end of the movie. So that is Boondock Saints. So I am curious, because I watched it with Nathanael. I'm curious to know, Liam, what are your thoughts? This is the first time you've watched it, right?
First time I've ever
As an
watched
Irish
it.
kid from Boston, Irish Catholic from Boston.
Who loves Boston? I'm not from Boston. This has been on my watch list for a long, long, long time. Very like divisive movie online. You either are like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, or you're like, this is the greatest cult classic movie
I think it's
of
a
all time.
dumb movie that's fun to watch.
It is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think it's really fun to watch.
Absolutely loved it.
I love like every minute of that movie.
I was
way
like-
more than I remembered that I did.
It was so charming. I can't remember the last movie that I've laughed out loud as much. Maybe like Whiplash at some of like J.K. Simmons' lines. I laughed out loud a lot, but like I laughed out loud so much at some of the dialogue. Most of it's crass, and I can't.
What were some of the
it.
parts? You don't have to say the exact
the
lines.
The one that stuck out to me was when Rocco was like, F, 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 and F, F. And then Connor's like, Oh, that really shows the diversity of the word.
Because it certainly shows the diversity of the word.
Just so witty, man. Just so witty.
There are such likable characters.
They really are
in that movie. I do want to. I mean, I'll let us discuss it, but at the end, I want to talk about what it means to write characters that people actually like, because I think this is in stark contrast with our other movie, which maybe we don't all agree, but I would say are some unlikable written characters. But anyway, so whatever. More thoughts on the movie.
Phenomenal. Norman Reedus, I have not seen him in anything but
His
Walking
accent
Dead.
was all over the place.
His accent was really bad.
Like literally every like little gap like that or everything that's like, oh, it's kind of weird. I thought the way they edited some of like the cut scenes, I was like,
we're just kind of faded to black and then like went on to the next scene.
It literally was like a video game, just fades to black, fades up on the next scene.
But it was so endearing the whole time. Like I literally didn't care about anything that you'd be like, oh, it's a bit amateurish. It's like, no, it's just a fun watch.
Like, all the scenes with Willem Dafoe.
Oh,
I
Dafoe's
was
good.
That might be his best character ever.
I just love the way he keeps messing with the one police officer. He's just a moron. The one detective who's a moron.
I'll take a bagel with my coffee.
He's like bagel with cream cheese. he just puts his head down and walks
the detective's
off.
like, fuck, and then goes and does it. He's like, yeah, you got me. And then, but then he has the one time where he was right.
What if it was one
guy
with
six guns? Are you an idiot?
But Willem Dafoe is great because you can see he knows he's a genius, right? So he goes into these crime scenes and it's hard to even pin why it's so charming, but he puts these headphones on and he walks around and he kind of dances and he looks around and then he takes the headphones off and he explains exactly what happens. But he
slowly starts to lose it over the course of the movie. He's
losing his mind, and the greatest part is that he's really on their tail at first, but then Rocco, their buddy, gets involved, and they are like so precise and just amazing assassins, the two of them, and then Rocco is just a complete idiot. And so he's sitting there and he's like, okay, and this is where they wait, what? Why are there 12 bullets in this? He's like, so he aimed this way, and then he's like, and then he
crossed.
Yeah,
he crossed.
He's like losing his mind, and by the end, he's literally like his shirt is almost ripped off of his body, and he like goes up to the blood. They're like, we can't get samples.
There was a fire.
And he touches the blood, and he sniffs it. And he's laughing. He's like, we can't get any samples. There's too much pneumonia.
Ammonia.
Dude, that scene where he was like recreating the firefight,
standing next to them
is like.
Guns.
Like at face value, you might look at that scene and be like, "Oh, it's kind of cringy." It is the total opposite of cringy.
It would be,
right?
It's if it wasn't Willem Dafoe absolutely selling that scene,
totally bought it.
It would not work.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of stuff in that movie where if you don't have those actors doing those jobs, it just doesn't work.
For sure,
it's kind of one of those movies that should, like, on paper doesn't seem like it should work, but then when you watch it, like, okay, it's really cheesy. Like, it's cheesy beyond belief,
right?
But it works.
Yeah. Well, and I think that might be, out of everybody in the movie, Willem Dafoe is like, I don't think anybody else could have played his character. I think you might be right that picture anybody else doing those things and you'd be like, this is cringy. There is one actor that I always say is kind of like, he's a little less goofy, but Hugo Weaving I've always thought is very similar to Willem Dafoe because they both came from like a stage play background and they're very like kind of like very professional type actors, and they really get into their roles. But even him, like I just can't picture anybody else. Just his facial expressions when he's sitting there at that scene where he's recreating it, and he's actually firing his gun in the air. He starts to shoot his gun in the air. It's just incredible.
Just absolutely losing it.
Oh man! And every one of those scenes is so. I forgot how creative they do it to where they're about to launch into their big assault, and then everything cuts to black, and then it cuts to.
I loved that decision.
It was amazing because every time you're like, oh, what's gonna happen, and then it cuts to Willem Dafoe walking into the scene, and you see the aftermath.
Yeah,
and he's like, oh my gosh, what the heck happened here? And he looks around for a bunch, and then he tells you what happened. And as he's talking. And in the really creative one was the firefight scene where you actually see him walking through when it's happening, and he's explaining while the bullets are going by, and then he's pointing and doing this while they're shooting behind him. And
Loved
it's like,
it. Loved the
it's
decision.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's so good. No, they are, the two of them specifically, though, are such likable characters the whole movie.
Yep.
And I think writing likable characters really shouldn't be that hard. But the key takeaways, and you should, remember this, because when we talk about Mickey 17, these are the things that are going to be missing. But you have a main characters who they are pretty badass, right? They don't make a ton of mistakes. They get shot up there at the end. They kind of get saved by their...
The only explanation we have for why they're so good at shooting is that their dad is Il Duce.
Is it? That was what I was going to ask.
It does not explain it.
It's not established early on that, like, they are literally...
normal
people got in a bar
obliquely
fight.
reference to the fact that they've been trained to shoot guns.
Well, so their mother taught them all the different languages, which makes them really unique. They're Irish and they're kind of sluggers. They get into bar fights, but I think it's supposed to be, and this is part of the corniness, but like it's supposed to be the supernatural, that moment where they kind of wake up out of bed and they hear the voice of God. Yeah, and that's the whole thing when they were spinning, upside down in the ropes. I don't think that they were like, oh, yeah, we just knew exactly what we were doing. I think they just looked around and went, okay, well, we must be blessed by God because we shot 8 bullets and killed 8 people while spinning upside down.
That would make sense.
That's the kind of the idea is that God is now on their side, like helping them along to do these things. But I think what makes them charming characters is that they're not jerks to the people around them. Like they're very respectful to the cops. Like they get in there and they're laughing with them. They're having coffee with them. That scene is great where the one like dumb cop is sitting there and he's just like, they're probably halfway around. He's like, you probably have to get a donut on a stick and try to drag it around. And he barges in the room and he's like, you probably have better luck with a beer.
Yeah.
And they're both just like they're both in bathrobes and they're covered in blood. And then they sit there and they're just having donuts and they're like talking in Italian or they're talking in Latin. They're like, oh, this guy's actually super smart. So they respect this guy. Like he's a really sharp dude. They're like they're like, can we just hang out here so we don't have to talk to the media? So the people they meet, they're really loyal to Rocco, even though he's an idiot. Like they're guys that you want to root for because they're actually treating the other characters with respect. And they're also cool. And it doesn't just tell you these guys are cool, don't mess with them. It shows you that they're really cool. Yeah. Like that beginning scene with the Russian guys where they just stand up, they're really intimidating, and then these little skinny Irish guys are just like, it's St. Patty's Day, man.
Just have
a beer with us.
Yeah.
We'll they're shutting the place down tomorrow, and like it's just such a great environment. I feel like, and they pull it along well, being such likable characters.
Yeah, for sure.
So were there things you didn't like about this movie? Either of you?
I didn't really, and again, I'll go back to what I said earlier about like I looked over a lot in this movie because it was so enjoyable. The El Duce tie-in seemed a bit last minute and taped on, and then the ending where they're in the courtroom. I was like, I didn't need that.
The movie kind of gets sloppier and sloppier. It's just like not necessarily in a bad way, but it definitely it just kind of unravels towards the end. Like their whole backstory and El Duce being their dad, and that is a little. It's absurd, but I mean, the whole movie is absurd. So when you take a step back and look at it as a whole, you're like, okay, I see that. Then you're watching, you're like, okay, so he's their dad. So why was he working for the mob? But I mean, the one thing I'll say is like, it kind of makes sense if you think about the fact that Il Duce is the guy they get to kill other mobsters. So
he's essentially doing the same thing.
He's doing the same thing, but he's doing it so that the mob will let him kill other mobsters.
Right.
So, but they don't really explain. I mean, I don't know if they do in the second one. I don't remember the second one. The second one's not very good. Or is they replace Rocco with an even more annoying character?
I saw that was not that long ago that released, right?
No,
like 2010s.
Yeah, something.
Dude, the scene where they kill the cat.
Rocco's like, is he dead?
Dude,
his guts are all over.
The most charming part of that whole scene is that later on they don't even address it.
A picture of the cat over the wall.
There's a taped picture of a cat on the wall with this giant blood stain behind it, and they just tape up this picture to try to cover the blood stain. And the sister comes home, she's like, "Where's the cat?" And he's like, "I will blow my brains out right now if you can name the cat. What color was it?"
It's obviously worth noting that Willem Dafoe's character is both gay and homophobic, which was just an unreal decision.
Which is such a wild thing to see. Oh my gosh! What does he say to the bartender? Where he's like on the phone. He's like, I don't know. You've already had a lot, sweetie. And then he's just like, just pour the drink. You.
Yeah.
and like everybody in the bar is like, what the hell is wrong with you? I mean, he's also a flaming gay guy, but he just throws around these obscenities.
What about this scene where he shows up in drag?
Oh, dude.
The funniest part to me is like after he's like, it's too far, and then he puts the wig back on.
Yeah. He's he's like writhing around on the ground.
He's lost his mind at that point. He's like gone completely bonkers.
There's so many wild scenes. The scene where he's like, Dude, the Italian mobster, the main Don, is one of the funniest characters in the whole movie. He's like, so they tell me that you are the funny man. And he's just like, well, yeah, some people say that. He's like, so tell me a joke. He's just sitting there eating a sandwich, and then he's just like, well, I don't know if it. And so he's like, so he starts to tell this joke. It's really long, and it's you're not really getting anywhere.
It's a terrible joke.
And then he goes, this is a really bad joke. And the mafia guy's like, puts his sandwich down. He goes, continue the joke. So he has to continue the joke, and then he finishes it, gives the punchline, and everybody's just waiting around to see if the mafia don laughs, and everyone's looking around, and then he starts cracking up, and so everybody starts laughing.
You're so right. That was another part I love. Is his reaction to that joke, which is like
he's doing the hand motion. He's like, oh.
yeah.
I'll have a Coke.
I was cracking up.
Oh man.
No. This movie.
Tell me another joke.
This movie. This might be the most lopsided box office versus grossing I've ever seen in my life.
It's pretty.
Now, granted,
it bombed.
It made money.
Sure.
Afterwards, significant. Like it I think made profited $13 million at the end of the day. Budget was $6 million.
Pretty cheap.
It made.
How do you get Willem Dafoe for $6 million?
Its gross worldwide was $33,000.
Well, do you know what the deal was though?
No one saw it.
But it only released in 5 theaters for 1 week because
so weird.
Columbine happened right before it came out.
Right.
And so they literally were like, all these different states were like, we're not showing this movie.
That's brutal.
And it just got. They were literally just like, okay, well, we're done for. And then it just got such a cult following through word of mouth and DVD release, which is wild to think that a movie back then could do that. But when you're that iconic, when you have Willem Dafoe having that many scenes, you know the movie couldn't disappear.
I'm trying to see how early in Willem Dafoe's career this was, because I would imagine it's before most of his. It's not necessarily
it's in the middle. He's been around for a while.
It's middle. He was in some big movies in the early '90s.
Yeah.
This was late '90s, but.
It was 99, same year as The Matrix.
99. It was before American Psycho, which I think is when he really took off.
But he was such a small role in American Psycho.
Yeah, he was.
He basically
that's
played
the biggest movie he was in.
Yeah,
early
pre-Spider-Man.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Sure. You and me, Spider-Man.
We're the same.
I could be talking out of my. Oh, I'm talking out of my ass too.
True.
If my parents were watching, they'd be disappointed. Mississippi Burning, great movie. Gene Hackman, Will Dafoe.
Mississippi Burning.
Rest in peace, Gene Hackman.
Rest in peace, Gene Hackman. Great movie.
Did they ever figure out what actually happened?
What, Gene Hackman?
Yeah, Gene Hackman died, but they found his. Yeah, they found him dead with his wife dead and his dog dead.
Well,
and so they're like,
but they'd been dead.
Yeah,
they weren't killed.
No.
They were just
but it was weird
rotting.
that they found 3 corpses at the same time.
Yeah.
Is it
unclear?
Carbon dioxide
The
poisoning?
last thing I heard was he had a heart episode, but I have no idea why the wife and the dog also just happened to die right then.
I think there's something about Alzheimer's.
They've
or something,
simply lost the
maybe.
will
where
to live.
maybe the wife had it and didn't even realize that something was going weird.
Could be.
But
either way, it was a really weird.
Yeah.
The police were like, we don't suspect any foul play, but it is really weird.
I thought it was a Chris Benoit scenario. You guys know who Chris Benoit is?
Yeah, I've heard of Benoit.
Wrestler that
killed
his family,
killed his whole family, and himself.
So
I was like, not Gene Hackman. Don't do
not
that.
Gene.
How would he even do that? He's 90s. He was 1 million years old. Wow. He was gonna hit her with his walker.
I don't know, man. Crazy things have happened.
If only we had Willem Dafoe to.
There was a firefight.
to walk into the scene.
Gene Hackman's running around. His wife's running around. The dog's like
show exactly what happened. Overall, though, phenomenal movie. It does feel like one of those similar to Con Air, where you don't. It's not. You're wondering why it's so amazing. I think I like Con Air better too, but it's splitting hairs. They're both phenomenal. They're both just great movies. They're those ones that you just feel like you could just watch. There's so many funny scenes, awesome scenes to watch, especially with friends that haven't seen something like that. To be like, oh, dude, you've got to see Boondock Saints. It does feel like a very bro movie too.
It's a very, very bro movie. It's a very college frat boy movie
with the 2 brothers and their friendship with Rocco, who's just kind of the idiot. They keep calling him dude, you're an idiot. Like you got to stop doing this stupid stuff. But they keep him around because they love him. Dude, the scene where they look through the people after they killed all the Russians, and then they see that Rocco had been sent as like an assassin to like by the Italians, and he's coming in as like the guy serving the food, and they're like, oh, it's Rocco, and they look at each other like, we've got to fuck with him. And so they like throw him on the ground, and they're
like, it's a 6-shooter. There's 9 men here. What are you gonna do? Laugh the last 3 to death?
Dude, they're so good, man. That whole movie. But anyways, phenomenal movie. I think around the board we probably all really enjoyed it, maybe to different degrees.
I do enjoy it. I wouldn't call it a phenomenal movie. I would call it a very fun movie.
Incredibly fun movie.
I would call it a very, very fun movie.
Yeah.
I would not call it a phenomenal movie from like an artistic standpoint.
I put it in the same.
I would call it a very fun movie.
The same category of Con Air,
Yeah,
where it's like
like
Con Air
Con Air.
didn't do anything like cinematically beautiful.
I like Con Air better. Honestly, I think Con Air does
objectively-
have some really interesting story beats, though. And this one,
That's
this
true.
one doesn't really have. I mean, a little bit.
This one's also a little more graphic and stuff. It's a little darker. There's just like it deals with darker subject
It's also
matter.
like, I mean, the whole ending where the people are interviewing and they're like, well, let's just give everyone guns, and then because I mean, it's a fair point about vigilantism, right? Like, great. I mean, yeah, they're shooting bad guys, but what if they decide that you're a bad guy?
Right.
So
yeah, the ending, they go around and just interview. It looks very realistic, like they were just interviewing people on the street and asking them about the Saints. What do you think? And they've essentially by the end of the movie presented themselves like a vigilante, like a superhero.
Yeah.
And so people all have different opinions.
I do not. I don't remember at all what happens in the second one.
Yeah, I don't remember it at all either. I just know that it wasn't very good.
No, I remember them replacing Rocco. I'm like, this guy, I can't even remember his name, and he's somehow more annoying.
Well,
than
Rocco
is.
died.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rocco's dead.
I forgot
Rocco's
that happened.
dead.
I forgot that
And-
happened.
Which was I think a good decision to because I think as much as you thought he was an idiot, you had a heart for him like the Saints had the heart for him. Like
You
you're
had
like,
a
oh,
heart
dude.
because the Saints had a heart for him,
exactly.
pretty much.
Yeah, they're acting as you throughout the movie, but definitely just a fun watch. Definitely a guy movie. Watch it with your dude friends. I think you had a lot of fun.
I can't imagine a girl liking this movie.
Yeah, again, it is a bro movie.
Yeah.
It is. I think the scenes with Willem Dafoe they might get a kick out of and be like, that was kind of funny and weird.
Yeah.
So the second one, they go back to Ireland, and a priest gets murdered in Boston. And they get blamed for it, so they go back to.
And their little companion is a part of like the Mexican mafia, and he's like really
He's
goofy.
like
In the second one?
Yeah.
Not
it's
gonna
that
watch
great.
it.
No, it's not good. Dude,
plan on
the part where the cop is like, "Hey, chief, can they stay in one of the cells?" He's like, "Well, you'll have to ask your mother, but it's fine with me if your friends sleep over." I'm just cracked because it's Willem Dafoe's facial expressions, and he just looks like a lizard.
Yeah.
He's delivering these lines so perfectly.
That Nathanael made a great summary. The fact that he was so bought into that
Yes.
goofy ass character
it had to-
made everything work.
If he was the little tiniest bit not sold out
Yeah,
for that
just collecting
character,
a
it would have
paycheck
been
or
really
whatever.
weird.
Yeah.
Would have been really
Which
weird.
I respect Willem Dafoe doesn't do. Like, there are some actors, and you see them in these terrible films, but they're still, and I'm not saying that about Boondock Saints, but you see them, like, no matter what they're in, they're clearly putting forth an
Nick
effort.
Cage.
Yeah, Nick Cage just, like, acts his brains out, even when the movie doesn't call for him to act his brains out,
Yeah.
right? But they
Most
go
of the
on and
movie
they
season
bring
are weird.
100% to they bring 100% of their game, and no matter how many bad films you end up in, I respect you so much more than your like Jack Blacks and your
Right.
I'm trying to think of other people who will just like get phone in and get like Harrison Ford right now. He's just like, yep, just cash in the space. Like, dude, you're 80,000 years old. Retire.
Yeah.
Go
you
be
don't
with
need
your kids.
to do
like,
this. You have plenty of money, Harrison Ford.
good Lord.
And arguably, like even his most iconic, like the Green Goblin, I think that role is played by anybody else. We might just have a different view of that movie and just say he was a corny
Yeah.
character. Like, you had to be sold out to play characters that might not even have been an objectively good written character, but he turned it into amazing.
And that's what you can take characters that on paper you're like, this is really cheesy. I mean, it's a dude who dresses like a goblin, calls himself the Green Goblin, cackles and flies on a little hovercraft and throws pumpkin bombs. And Willem Dafoe's like, oh my gosh, he's actually menacing.
Yeah.
Take note, the Batman. You don't have to make your character in a gimp mask with a bunch of Antifa thugs to make them menacing. Like,
oh, Bruce Wayne. So let me ask you guys this, because the Harrison Ford comment gets my mind going, because I've always thought this about Harrison Ford, that he's just kind of an overrated actor. When you think overrated actors, who comes to mind? Because again, this has to be
Pedro
somebody
Pascal.
that somebody puts in a lot, that
Zendaya.
puts a lot of weight on, that you just are like, I feel like that they're the same person in every movie. I think those are good. I think those are both good. I haven't seen
Honestly, Ryan
Zendaya
Reynolds.
in enough.
Ryan Reynolds sucks.
But Ryan Reynolds is
He just
I-
plays
I-
himself.
he's so-
I-
he's
I-
just
I
being
think
himself in
there are
every movie.
movies
I
that
don't
really
think-
work well.
I'm so over
but
him.
he's in he's in so many movies and he doesn't play any
He's the same guy.
different characters.
he's essentially Deadpool in every movie he's
Yeah.
playing in.
Well,
and it
he's
works in
Deadpool,
Deadpool and everything else. You're just like, all right, there's too much Ryan Reynolds.
His
but
sense
he's
of humor
also
is so
The Rock.
grating.
He's also not
Is
trying
he
to be
overrated
anything
though? Or
else.
does everyone
yeah,
know
that's
he's
what I'm
a
saying.
bad
I
actor?
think that most people assume Ryan Reynolds and The Rock are just going to be Ryan Reynolds and The Rock.
Yeah.
See, I would say people like
Pedro Pascal.
Liam
I think
Neeson,
he's-
in my opinion, is like, I think he's fine at playing the roles he plays.
I think he's been good in a couple things,
But he doesn't like. It's not like a huge. He just plays the kind of stoic, like.
Hold on.
you're about to get some pushback on
Schindler's
that.
List.
Yeah.
That's
Is
true.
an
Okay,
This is not
unbelievable
this is not saying
performance.
that you don't have
He
like
doesn't
one
have
breakout.
one go.
Like
Okay, sure.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
saying that, like in general, people are like, oh, he's such an amazing actor, but like, no, it was kind of just this one thing, and
Like I
everything
think
else is
Harrison
kinda mid.
Ford was a good Han Solo. I don't think that anybody else could pull off that role. He had the charm, the charisma, and he's a good Indiana Jones. But I don't really necessarily think that either of those roles called for a whole lot. And I think in everything else he's been in, he just kind of like he has the same demeanor all the time.
See, to me, when I say overrated, to me that's like someone ends up in everything, but they're not memorable in anything they're in. And to me, that is Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, Pedro
He's in
Pascal,
literally
I think,
everything,
I like
and
that.
he's not a bad actor. It's not that he's bad; he's decent in
he's
just about
overrated.
everything. But like, there's no time where I'm like, dang, only Pedro Pascal could have pulled that off.
I don't think he has had a role that I've been stunned by.
Exactly.
Like,
the
pretty
best,
much ever.
my favorite role of his, I didn't even know it was him till the end of the movie. That was in the Wild Robot, the Fox, because that character was just really well written.
He's good in Game of Thrones
I didn't watch that, so
as Oberyn
the guy
Martell,
who gets murked.
who gets
Yep.
his eyes popped. Yeah. Did you see all the? Speaking of overrated, this is an actress, but Gal Gadot,
Gal Gadot isn't just not a
Gal
good actress.
Gadot's
She's
just
just
not
not a good
very
actress.
horrendous.
Chat says that Daniel Kaluuya, the guy from Taken, the guy from Get
Daniel
Out.
Kaluuya?
Yeah, the guy from Get Out.
I haven't seen him in anything
Daniel
else. So I
Kaluuya.
wouldn't.
He's in
I-
Nope.
I've only
He's okay.
I haven't seen him in enough to judge that.
I've only ever seen Get Out, and I can't even really remember what it was.
He's good in Get Out. He's good in Nope, and he's good in Sicario. Those are the only three I've seen him in.
Pedro Pascal was also in that one, wasn't he? No, he was in Narcos.
No.
He was in Narcos.
No,
Yeah.
dude, freaking Sicario is
That was all time.
is what's his name?
Javier
Javier Bardem.
Javier
No,
Bardem.
it's,
No,
it's
Guillermo del-
Guillermo del Toro.
Guillermo del Toro. I always get those two confused.
Javier Bardem. Talk about a guy who gets cast in some really bad movies.
Javier Bardem.
Yeah.
I almost can't even name a movie he's in, but I
He was
know
in-
who
okay,
he
he
is.
No
King-
Country for Old
The
Men.
only ones I can remember,
Right?
he was
No
King
Country for Old
Triton
Men,
in
yeah.
the live-action Little Mermaid.
Okay,
Yeah, he
was.
was
And
Triton.
he's
He's
in
James Bond. He was one of the bad guys in one of
Oh,
the
that's
James
right.
Bond.
That's
was.
right. He was in Skyfall. He
Do
was
you know
M's
what your
son.
nitrogen cyanide does to your face? And he like takes his fake teeth out, and his whole face falls apart. He's really creepy looking.
No, Frick. What is it? The Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Oh yeah,
He's
he was-
Salazar.
Will you tell Jack Sparrow for me? Guillermo del Toro. Is that what we just
No,
said?
no. Javier Bardem.
Yeah, I know, but like
But
Oh,
you
Guillermo
know,
del
it's
Toro?
not Guillermo.
That's not-
What's
That's
his
that's not
name?
your
Benicio del Toro.
Benicio del
Oh,
Toro.
my
Guillermo del Toro is the
gosh.
I
director.
know, I know. My brain just
short-circuited a little bit there.
No, I think that I would put Liam Neeson in there again, not because I think he's a terrible actor, just because I actually don't think that the movies that he plays in, I'm just like, he was fine. Like, I think that he was good as Ra's al Ghul, but I don't think that took a whole lot of charisma or anything. He was just vaguely there. And I think that he is what people would consider a big name actor. I think he can kind of just do one thing. He does that kind of
I
older
feel like I haven't
action.
seen him. He was.
He
I
plays
did-
in
not
he plays in
hashtag not my
Taken,
Aslan.
Taken
He's in-
2,
I know he's
Taken
in Taken.
3, and then a bunch of movies that are just like Taken.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's like
I mean,
his
he got Jason Statham.
yeah.
Where they're like, ooh, you have like an intimidating voice and you look kind of imposing. Here, do that. Well, Jason Statham was just like, oh, you can just look manic all the time and run around and do these ridiculous things.
You know who I don't think is that great? Timothy Chalamet.
Timothy Chalamet, I think he's good in some. I think he was good. I think he was very well cast for Dune. But I really don't like him in anything else.
Nah, he's good.
He's good.
I think he's a good
Yeah,
actor.
He's really good.
I think he's a good actor, but he's just so.
I think he's falling
he's
into
just
that.
such,
Let me just
such
play
such a wispy human being that it really, like, to me, he really only suits certain roles. And for Dune, I can't remember his name. What's his character's
Chat's
name?
saying Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson's great.
I actually kind of like
I don't know if
Woody
he's over.
Harrelson.
I disagree with that.
I don't know if I say overrated because I don't see him starring in a lot of things.
Well,
and I think everything he's in, I kind of enjoy him in. To be honest.
Zombieland.
has he won?
so
has he
good.
won
Yeah.
awards? Has he won
Nah,
awards?
definitely
idea.
not.
He's not.
Definitely not been anything like award worthy.
Yeah, Timothy Chalamet looks like he'll be blown away by it.
Have you ever seen
Yeah.
So
Beautiful Boy?
Yeah, I have. And
He's
I
pretty
was
good in
about
that.
to say that I think that he actually that was like kind of the first big role I saw him in, and
Yeah.
I was like, he was kind of perfect for that. He's
Yeah.
a skinny kind of like hipster
Druggy.
kid that
Yeah.
got into
Druggy.
drugs,
yeah,
and like
so
that checks
to,
out.
To me, when I
He
think of
still looks
actors
like a
who are
little-
overrated, I think of actors who are getting tons and tons and tons of screen
Right.
time, and I'm like, but they're not that good.
and that's
Like
the only
Jack
reason.
Quaid, we saw literal back-to-back trailers. I'm like, he's all right.
Yeah,
Like, he's a fine act. Why does he have, again, we were in the movie theater. We saw 2 trailers back to back where he's the starring role. I'm like,
Yeah.
I've literally never seen that before.
It's because the world wants the little betas. They want the little Timothy
They do.
Chalamet.
Little beta
They want
cooks.
that. And the people that we watched a great movie. So we watched Man from U.N.C.L.E. and you
Oh,
have
so good.
you literally
Henry
have
good.
Cavill
Really?
and Armie Hammer.
I've heard
so
of it.
You have
Yeah.
Armie Hammer and Henry Cavill, these
It's
stud guys, and I'm like, those guys
fantastic.
can't get any roles.
Well, you know why Armie Hammer can't get roles.
Yeah,
right?
because he's a
Because
psycho.
he's
not-
a cannibal.
Allegedly.
Henry Cavill is almost
I ate-
too big
I ate
for
his
roles.
liver
The
with some
problem, I
fava
think the problem that Henry Cavill has
beans.
is that
Chianti.
current Hollywood doesn't want to hire him because they know he'll push back on them if we're like, oh, okay, by the way, you're James Bond. Also, James Bond is, whatever, like this wimpy guy who just lets women walk all over him, and Henry Cavill will be like, no, that's not what James Bond is.
He is like outspoken like that.
yeah, that's why he
Okay, I
got.
didn't
That's
know
why
that.
he left The Witcher. Because he loved The
Okay.
Witcher, but he's a huge nerd, big
Yeah,
old nerd.
he's
he
like
loved
super
The Witcher,
into-
and the people who were writing The Witcher kept getting in arguments with him because he was
Interesting.
like, my character would never do that.
Respect.
Yeah.
And I think that I just like you objectively you see Henry Cavill and you're like, this guy looks like a movie star. Like he is
yeah.
one of the best looking dudes.
Yeah.
He's really well spoken.
yes.
Just his voice alone, his American accent is great. His British accent, he's actually British, is phenomenal. He's imposing because he's big. He's a good look. It's like
He was great in Mission
Let that
Impossible.
guy
When
do
he
it.
He
Let
reloaded
that
was
his
guy-
really
arms,
good at Mission Impossible.
he
Yeah,
reloaded his sleeves.
yeah, it was so sick.
it's like instead, I don't know. Like I'm just like those
He's-
guys are so very
I
clearly
think he got some
made
sort
for
of voodoo
roles.
curse because everyone knows he's a great actor. He puts his work in for every role that he's in. The problem is, for whatever reason, I think he either has just a terrible agent or he's been blacklisted for
Blacklisted.
being like
Who's an athlete?
for being too much of a Giga Chad.
Who's
They're
an
like, this
athlete-
guy's too based. We can't have him in our movie.
He's like the reverse Kirk Cousins.
That's what it is.
of athletes, where it's like,
But yeah, I mean, it's funny. He deserves his. So we had Pedro Pascal's the hot stuff right now, and then we had like Chris Pratt had his time where he was in everything, and Chris Pine had his time where he was in
I
everything.
liked Chris Pratt.
I did too.
I think Pratt can do a lot.
Yeah.
But we never got the Henry Cavill is in everything, and I want
Yeah.
that. I want that time. Like we're
And to be-
passing that window where he can be in everything.
And to be honest, as weird as Armie Hammer is, for I don't
was
know,
good in that
what he's-
movie.
I think he's been great in everything I've seen him.
I
in.
didn't realize how
He's-
tall he was.
Yeah, I mean,
He's a
he
mountain
He
of
was,
man.
yeah, he's like 6'4", I think. He's
Which
a-
is why
he's
he's eating people. He's got to
he has that line
protein
in,
levels up.
in the Social Network where he's like, "I'm 6'4" and there are 2 of me." he's like, "We don't need to go to them. I'm 6'4" and there are 2 of me. We can beat it out of them." But yeah, those are okay. We already talked about actors we do like, but I just wanted to kind of go side tangent before we get
I'll
into.
say, speaking of large human beings, you've all been watching Reacher.
Oh yeah,
No, that guy is
Great.
huge.
No,
I know
so
who he
okay,
is,
so
though.
so in season 3, they found a guy who makes him look small.
Really
Legit, like this guy who's like 7'4", so he's like 6'4" and like 300 pounds, like jacked out of his mind. And they somehow found a guy that makes him look small.
He's 7'4" and like jacked,
jacked
as
out
well.
of his mind.
Holy cow!
It's like you're like, how did you find this guy?
Yeah, there's
Like, where
levels.
did you
There's
dig this guy?
levels to
It's
this.
insanity.
Yeah.
Which-
So-
it was perfect too, because Reacher's always the biggest dude around. Suddenly he's not, and it's actually really good. Like,
yeah,
story
Dynamics.
wise, like
Yeah.
dynamically. But I'm like, where'd you dig this guy up?
I did get some pushback for the Timothy Chalamet comment. I get it. I'm not saying that he's a bad actor. I was just fishing for people that they kind of throw into every role nowadays. And I'm like, I don't necessarily know that his range is there. I think he's kind of just too little and wimpy. I think he can,
but Dune, he's not wimpy though.
I don't know if I loved him in Dune.
Oh, I loved him in Dune.
I don't know if he seemed like a 12-year-old boy the whole time.
But that was like true to the character in a sense. Like he grew up quick. Because in the first movie he is kind of wimpy. Second movie he's laying the law down on some of those Bene Gesserits. And I thought like his growth through the 2 movies worked. He is wimpy, so like he's limited in his roles. Like he's not gonna be a superhero anytime soon. But I don't want him to be.
Chat brought up a really good point.
Good.
The next
Lord.
big dude that's going to be in everything,
Robert Pattinson.
Glenn Powell.
He kind of already is. Yeah,
he's the guy from Twisters.
Oh yeah.
He's
the
for
YouTuber guy?
he's for sure going
I
to
could
be.
see that.
He had a moment last year.
I can see that.
I think
what else has he been in?
he was in Top
He
Gun.
was in that big
Oh, okay.
rom-com that was the biggest rom-com of the year.
Top Gun Maverick, and then him and Sydney Sweeney were
Yeah.
just like, hey, we're both hot. Let's be in a rom-com. Which is,
That Hitman movie on Netflix, which I heard is not actually bad.
Is it called Hitman or
It's called Hitman.
like
yeah.
based on the game, or is it just called? Hitman?
No. It's like a comedy.
Oh okay.
But
Yeah.
you see, like he's a good-looking, like he has very masculine qualities. Maybe that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
To where I think that he can
Greg
handle
always looking
roles.
for masculine qualities.
Yeah, he's always looking at
I'm
tone.
just saying, if you
One
think
of Willem
movie
Dafoe.
star
Look at those
man,
arms.
like that's just what you think of. So, anyways, I'd be a fan of Glenn Powell getting into more movies. I think that's a good thing.
I think-
Like, he can do action.
So
he
I
can
think
do.
what you're saying isn't historically wrong, where it's like the leading man is usually a sturdy boy.
Hey, it usually
Sure.
depends, and it ends up depending on the genre. Like typically in action movies, you get a big burly dude,
Right.
or like a lithe dude, like a Jackie Chan or a Jet Li, or someone who's clearly like athletic, but
Yeah.
Well, it's
lithe.
like-
And then for rom coms, you get your Hugh Grants and the the kind of foppy guys who are
Right.
soft and pillow like.
Well, it's like we just talked about how good
Or Will Smith.
how good Willem Dafoe is in that movie. I think that Timothy Chalamet would have been a great little detective guy who's just smoking cigarettes and kind of losing his
can't see
mind.
him well, you know what?
Okay,
I can see him not
nobody
to that
could play
degree,
that
but I
role.
can see that he's just the problem. Timothy Chalamet's biggest problem, and it's a boon in some things, but he looks like a child.
He's
Yeah,
a boy. He's
that-
boyish.
yeah. That
he's
is-
he's not boyish. He looks like a kid. Like
Yeah.
he looks like
Yeah.
a 12-year-old.
He is
And
like
that's-
tiny.
Yeah, he's like teeny tiny. So it works in some roles. Like again in Dune, Paul
I haven't read the
Atreides-
books, so
yeah, so Paul Atreides is like this, and it's interesting too because he is like wispier and more feminine because he's being raised by the Bene Gesserit to be one of them,
I can get
and
behind
so
that.
he's like more about using his mind power. He's not physically a physical specimen. Like he's strong in like he's athletic.
He has muscle around him.
Yeah.
He's not necessarily the
but he's
muscle
not like
crew.
the muscle guy. He's like
Yeah.
he has to
Yeah.
be cunning and intelligent.
Yeah.
And because the Bene Gesserit are training him to be like one of them,
Mm-hmm.
which is using your cunning, using the word powers and things like that.
Sure.
So he fits actually really, really well into that role.
And he
as
becomes
Lisa
more-
Nalgaib!
And he becomes more like intimidating
Yes.
as this
Yes.
second movie
Which
goes
I thought,
along.
That's what
too.
I thought he did a really good job. Was he actually he was able to produce that, which was kind of everyone was like, is he going to be able to pull this off? Because he does have this kind of aura of intimidation,
Mm-hmm.
even though he's not an intimidating physical specimen in the books.
Yes.
So I thought he was really well cast, and he did a great job with that.
So, all right, before we get too detracted, we do have another movie we're talking about.
Can we just
so this
talk about
one's-
nothing else? Can we just not?
Well, I'm curious because I
You
know
guys
you
don't know
and
what
I
I think about
watched it together, and we haven't talked to Liam. And Liam is not only a fan of
Bong Joon-ho.
Bong
A24,
Joon-ho.
he's a fan of Bong Joon-ho, and he's also a fan of lead actor dude.
Love Robbie.
He's a great actor.
he's
I have
great.
no complaints about
So
him.
let's
His jawline is absurd. He looks like
He's a handsome fella.
So
he looks like he's chiseled out of rock.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
give an overview, and then we'll turn it over to Liam to give his thoughts because I'm curious to hear. So
Why don't I give an overview?
I'm gonna give the overview.
No, boo.
Go for it.
So-
yeah, boom. You're outvoted, Greg.
So
You're outvoted.
Wow.
Stop talking. It's my turn.
Oh my gosh, Nathaniel, you talk way too much on the show.
No, I
anyways.
got this. I got this. Ready. Okay. All right. Mickey 17 is about a guy who goes into space, volunteers to be what's called "quote unquote" an expendable, meaning when he dies, they reprint his body and reboot his memories into them. And the reason he did this was because he was basically being chased by the mob because he owed them money. So the whole thing is about this journey to this planet called Niflheim on this ship where they're basically doing these horrible experiments to him and killing him over and over and over and over again. They get to the planet, and then he's Mickey 17, so he's the 17th version. He falls into a hole, and everyone assumes he's dead, but he actually gets out because there's this alien race they look like water bears, or what do you call them? Tardigrades. And they actually, he
Nobody
thinks they're
knows
going to
what
eat
that
him.
means.
He thinks they're going to eat him, but they don't. They actually basically say, go back to the ship. So he goes back to the ship, finds out they've already printed Mickey 18, which is a no-no because there's a law that's like you cannot have, what do they call them? Duplicates?
They call them duplicates, yeah. And they give a reason because there was a weird...
There was like a weird guy who was a serial killer.
Himself a bunch of times.
Yeah, and they were all serial killers. So they had a reason for it. And so the ship is being run by Mark Ruffalo's character, who is weird fusion of Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Joel Osteen.
Trump. He's Space Trump and Joel Osteen
Space Trumpstein. Space Trumpstein Musk. And he's just the worst. But he's like leading to this planet, like, oh, our planet's gonna be pure white, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like it's about as subtle as getting hit on the head with a sledgehammer.
Oh my gosh, Liam locked himself out.
Do we have to let Liam back
Just keep going, keep going.
So he and his girlfriend Nasha and the other Mickey 18, who for some reason Mickey 18 is like super aggressive, and he's like meek and a push. Mickey 17 is a meek pushover, and Mickey 18 is like super aggressive and just like, I'm just gonna kill people.
Everybody.
Yeah. And so they basically team up with the colonists are going to exterminate the bugs on Niflheim, and Mickey 17 finds out that he can communicate with them, so they basically end up assassinating Mark Ruffalo's character, whose name for the life of me I can't remember, but I don't care.
Kenneth Marsh.
Thank you. They end up assassinating Kenneth Marsh. Nasha becomes
Trump Osteen.
Yeah, Trump Osteen. Trump Osteen Musk. And that's kind of the end of the movie. Yeah. Mickey 18 ends up blowing himself up with Mark Ruffalo. So he kills that, and then his wife, who's also a horrible character, Mark Ruffalo's wife, who's also a horrible character, ends up offing herself. Sudoku. And then Nasha becomes the leader of the new council, and then they blow up the last cloning chamber, so there's no more cloning. And they're all in Niflheim happily ever after. The end.
So, Liam, how do you feel about this movie?
Yeah, how do you feel about this
Dude,
movie?
honestly,
no, don't.
It
please,
was
no.
so ass.
I knew it. I knew he was. I knew he was
don't
setting
do
us
that
up
to me,
for it.
man.
I hated it.
I know there was no way he would liked it.
I despised it.
Yeah,
so bad.
It was agonizing, and the whole time I was like, Liam's not going to like this.
I hated it so much.
The funny thing is, like, it has an interesting premise about
It
cloning.
certainly does.
And the
Could have
first
been
20
so
or 30
good.
minutes is not terrible.
No, the idea, like the moral dilemma of cloning, how he now there's two of them, and like the concept of him being an expendable and like doing the dangerous stuff.
A lot
and
of
dying,
creativity. You can.
That's a really cool jump off point.
And then they were just like, hey, you know what would be better? Space Trump.
Yeah.
And Kamala Harris beating him in an election.
And furry creatures.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this movie
is so bad.
Imagine a movie that tried on levels like Guardians of the Galaxy levels of trying to be funny, but nothing is funny.
No,
I mean, there was not one point that I laughed in that movie.
I think Robert Pattinson was
that's not
charming
true.
at times.
Yes, there was one time we laughed, and that's when
He slid
Mickey
down the
18.
stairs.
Yeah, Mickey 18 is
running
to go get Nasha, and he just like tumbles down the stairs.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
Dude, and I want to say, and I don't know if you guys mentioned this already, but Robert Pattinson I thought was great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had no issues with
I thought
him.
that he
Zero.
did fine, but he was
his
also
character I didn't
playing-
like.
He's
It's not his fault.
No,
Yeah,
I agree.
it's not his
Like
fault.
his acting
It's
was
not his
fine.
fault.
Right.
I have no problems with his acting.
But like, why create a character so unbelievably wimpy? Like he's just like, wow, she's
so here's
great
the problem. Like
in
at the
every
end of the
way.
movie, you're like,
I
okay,
can't believe she lets me
this-
hang around her. I'm like, who wrote
That's
this?
a really
Who
good
writes this
impersonation.
dialogue?
This movie was not about Mickey. It was about Nasha, and all they ever do is tell us, oh, she's so
How
cool.
amazing
she's so
she is.
amazing. She's so great in the bed. And
That's
like,
the problem. It's not about Mickey.
No,
yeah, and
It's not
also,
about Mickey.
But it
There's-
also they tell us
there's
all the things
no
about
development
Nasha.
for any character.
We don't see Nasha do anything.
No,
the
they
whole
just tell.
movie. They just tell us she's so cool.
It's the exact opposite of what I was talking about earlier, where you write likable characters that you like to see, and so let's contrast that with the Saints, right? The Saints, they're obviously badass, and that's fine to have badassery. These guys are blessed by God. It's kind of a silly concept, but when they go around, they're angry and they're mean and they beat the bad people, and when they meet the good people and the cool people like Willem Dafoe, they're really respectful. They talk about them in high regard. They're like, this guy's really sharp. We got to be careful. This guy really knows what he's doing. He's a great detective. They're loyal to their friends even when they're dumb, like Rocco. They don't belittle them all the time, only as like humor in the movie. Whereas Nasha is just, they're just like, she's great in every way. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm in the same room as her. I don't know what she sees in me, but and everybody's just like, yeah, she's the most decorated, blah, 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 blah. And she just goes around.
And she's also
just making fun of
a terrible
she's
character.
a horrible person.
She's horrible.
To me, the worst part is when they have both Mickey 17. Now, yes, she's high when this happens. But she has both Mickey 17 and Mickey 18.
Great aspect.
She has
of
both
her.
Mickey 17 and Mickey 18, and she's like, yeah, let's just have a threesome. And Mickey 17's like,
I can't believe you're laughing.
I can't
right
believe
now.
you would. Yeah, I can't
That's what he
believe you would.
says.
Yeah, he's like, I can't believe you would do this to me. Like, why? You're basically cheating on me with another me. And he's like, her response is, wouldn't you be happy if there were two of me? And it's like, would you be happy?
Yeah.
Like, you be okay with like, okay. And then she like runs downstairs, meets the lesbian girl, or I guess bisexual girl, who's totally in love with him.
Well, not even in. They're both just treating him like a piece of meat.
Sure,
They're like,
sure.
You get 18
but she's
and I'll
like,
get 17.
yeah, you take 18, I'll take 17. And Nasha's like, no, I want both because she's a selfish bitch.
Yeah.
The bisexual girl was such a zero.
Oh my gosh.
That girl was what
There was no
function
payoff.
did she play? What function did anybody play in this movie?
Yeah,
Zero.
they had like all these little disparate threads that ended like what was the whole thing about sauces? I mean,
Yeah,
zero.
the wife,
sense.
she was just like, oh, it'll make an amazing sauce.
That was her whole character.
Their whole
Yeah,
character was
I
like,
was, like,
I'm making
so-
sauces. She literally takes the tail off one of these things, just blends it up, and it's just blood and goo, and she's like, it's such a perfect sauce. I'm like,
what
bitch,
the
you have
hell
to
is
cook
going
that
on?
shit. What is that?
No, the movie really, I think you hit it on the head when you said, like, it's such a creative idea, and it opens up the window for all these really interesting conversations that they literally almost slap you in the face with in the movie, where they speak that. They go, wow, who's to say which one of us has the real consciousness? Oh, let's just move past it.
And the whole Timu thing of him like cooking up crack and selling it, and then
Oh,
And
the
that's
Stephen Yeun's character was
yeah,
irrelevant.
He didn't even need to
either.
be. So some of the biggest problems, if I were going to actually not just say I hate the movie, but talk about objectively the problems that it had, I think that you created every character in this movie was just a jerk for no reason. There was no like so his quote unquote best friend is somebody that back on Earth, he and this guy wanted to start a restaurant selling pastries, and they borrowed money from the mob to start their. So hey, maybe moron, you don't borrow money from the mob, and the mob
has a double-bladed chainsaw which literally serves no purpose. Why would you? That's so impractical.
They
Like,
introduced
that pissed
them.
me off. I was like, what purpose does having two blades on a chainsaw serve? Literally none.
It's
There's
the
no
future.
situation
It's the
if you would
future.
ever
It's
want.
high tech.
Yeah, but it should be just a laser chainsaw. That's high tech.
It's for torturing. So they introduced the mob as being menacing because they caught up this guy that owed them money, and they're like, "You guys are next if you don't owe us the money."
Did they say this, or is it just my head? Like they're like, "There's nowhere on Earth you can run." They're like,
Yes.
we got to go to space."
Yes, that's
Correct.
literally what they
That's
said.
correct.
So that is the idea behind Mickey going, well, I have to get on this spacecraft that nobody is allowed to get on these things except for all the morons getting on. And it's
Who, by the way,
it's
all
unclear.
the little cultists wear red hats.
We're
Yeah, that's
red hats
interesting.
with white letters.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And
Yeah, I wonder that. I'm not sure what it could be a reference
Dude,
to. But
Bong Joon-ho, you're Korean.
you're Korean, like
You're Korean.
my guy.
What are you
Get the
trying to
hell outta here.
commentate on?
I think someone told him like, "Oh, Kamala's definitely going to win. You should definitely capitalize on
it
this."
was
100%.
hysterical how in line with like it's this really dumb guy who's like, oh, he's lost 2 elections, so now he's leaving
Yeah.
Earth, and then this minority black woman character then becomes the president. I'm like, dog, dog. Hate to break it to
so
you.
embarrassing.
Hate to break it to you.
You know what it was?
But
you know
she
what it was?
lost.
It was the jersey they printed for the losing Super Bowl team.
It really
what's-
was.
You know what's funny? They pushed this movie out several times. I wonder if the actual election had anything to do with the fact that it was getting delayed and delayed and delayed.
Well, if they did,
There
they didn't
is-
do a good enough job fixing it. So
I
it's
know,
still
but
blatant.
what are you gonna? Yeah, you have the movie already, so you got to release it at
Sure,
some
sure,
point.
sure.
But
It's so
I don't know.
obnoxiously
Maybe they can
on the
Batwoman
nose.
it and just disappear
Yeah.
forever. No one needed to see this movie.
But back to my point about the characters, like so they introduced the mob. So Mickey is like, okay, we got to get onto this spaceship, and the only way to do it, is if you're good at something. His buddy somehow has a piloting background, so he gets on really easily. But he's got to enter as an expendable, and they're like, well, this is a pretty rough thing. Nobody signs up for this. That's why you're able to get on, because you're signing up as expendable. So from the beginning of the movie, you're like, Mickey is signing up for this. Yes, it's bad, and he was in a bad situation that he got himself into, but he is choosing this over getting hunted down by the mob. And the whole
Also-
movie is about how everybody, can you believe that they're doing this to him? And it's like, dude,
he agreed to do that.
Yeah, and also, not everybody would be as horrible
Yeah,
to
the
him
scientists
as,
are
as
all
they
just
are.
like. First of all, scientists are way more careful with their specimens. like that's like when he's like falling on the floor, like you just contaminated your sample. Like there are terrible scientists. There's only one, the dorky scientist with glasses. Who if she had if she had been the love interest, she would have taken her glasses off and become a 10 magically. Like you guarantee like. She's the only person who's even remotely nice to Mickey.
Well, and everybody's mean to him, but kind of in a way that you expect. So, like his buddy, there's this big moment. It's the first scene of the movie, and it comes around to be the middle scene of the movie after he explains it. Kind of like Fight Club, where he's like, "Let me explain how I got here." And it's his buddy looking down at him. He's falling through the hole, and he's like, "Oh, you're here, thank you." And he's like, "Hey, I'm not gonna go down to get you because like we're just gonna reprint you. You're gonna die. So like I'll see you later." And it's supposed to be like wow, look at this horrible guy. He deserves to die. He's such a wicked dude. And you're sitting there like, no, he's right. He shouldn't risk his life. You're gonna get reprinted tomorrow, which is something that you signed up for. Yes, it's brutal, and you're gonna make the whole point of the movie how everybody just thinks you're terrible except for. What's her name? Nasha. Who again is it's unclear why she's obsessed with him, other than the fact that she just
can we talk about how their relationship starts? So here's how their relationship starts. No. Okay, so it's like they're on the spaceship, and he goes to the cafeteria, he gets his food, and he's going to sit down, and he can't find a seat, and then Nasha just like beckons him over, and they sit down, and she shares some food with him for no reason, and then it cuts to them having sex. Literally, no words are exchanged. There's absolutely no reason, and the only reason she did that is because she's Robert Pattinson. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, shit, that's Robert Pattinson. You can sit next to me.
It literally doesn't even bother to tell to explain any chemistry.
It's just like oh, she's a beautiful black lesbian woman. Well, she's like, obviously not a lesbian, but a beautiful black woman of color. So clearly she's morally superior and is going to take pity on this poor soul by fucking him.
Yeah, and like that's all they do. They just sit around drawing different sex positions and talking about the ways that it's just and it's him talking like a little like I'm sorry they intentionally do this, but like a little priss the whole time where he's just like, wow, I don't know what I'm even doing here. Everybody just kills me all the time, and then but she just
Joey.
loves me so much, and I don't know why she keeps me around. She's him,
just so amazing.
It's
and
him
so
like
cool.
tying her shoes and her like patting him on the head and like smacking on the cheek and then just walking out to do her job, and he's just like crawling on the ground after. I'm like, what am I watching? What like both of these characters are terrible.
All this 5 billion women watching, is that desirable? Do you want a man who's just going to like glide down and let you step on him unless if you're not literally a dommy mommy? Like, is that what you want in a relationship?
I mean,
I highly doubt it.
I would argue no. Yeah.
And well, the problem is it shows because then she's like, oh, there's two of you. Like she's like, this is gonna be so good, and he goes, I can't believe you're laughing. Like deliberately what he says, he goes, I can't believe you're laughing right now. Like I'm about to be executed.
To give her a little bit of credit, she was high off her balls. So
well, but that's also a credit to her character.
True.
Like she's sitting there getting high and screwing this guy, and he's like, hey, that's not me. Like so. Anyways, but she still, even if she quote unquote sobers up, she runs off and she's like, no, I want to keep them both, and she's just purely selfish. Like it's just. There's no attempt to even say they had this chemistry. The movie at the very end does this little like montage that it didn't show you earlier, where he's dying in all the weird ways, and she actually like comes into the room and like scolds the scientists, and then like sits there with his dying body. When it's like, okay, one, they're doing their job. Two, he signed up for this, and like, so what are you scolding them for? And three, like, I don't know, like, none of the other parts of the movie show that you're that compassionate at all, that you thought about his feelings
Maybe
over
that's
your
what
own.
They kept pushing him. They're like, oh, shoot, Nasha is a total bitch. We need to make her look a little more human.
Throw a montage in there.
And then, of course, we need to talk about Mark Ruffalo because
speaking of overrated actors, Mark Ruffalo.
He's
what
bad
has he
in
been
everything.
in? He was all right as the Hulk, but
He
like,
was
what
bad
else
as
is
the
he-
Hulk. There's no acting.
What
in the
else
Hulk.
has
He
he
was a
been
Green
in?
Man half the time.
What else has he been
He's
in?
a fine Hulk because the Hulk doesn't demand much.
That's what I'm
He's a
saying. He
fine
doesn't
Hulk.
demand much.
But what else has he been? I literally don't know a single other thing
He
as
was
Mark
in
Ruffalo.
the Spotlight movie about the Catholic priests.
He's in Now
that
You
won an
See
Oscar.
Me.
Now You See Me.
Oh, the one where the magicians are actually wizards.
He's in The Happening.
Did you see that movie last year?
So he's been in all good
Poor
movies.
Things with Emma Stone.
Oh no, I did not bother.
Yeah, he was horrible in it. I hated him.
I think that he's just
He's
bad
not a good actor.
I think he's probably my least favorite actor, and he might play my least favorite character I've seen in a long time. in this guy.
So
It was SNL. It was an SNL skit that just dragged on. And
Yeah,
on
it just
and
so
on and
stale
on
at the
and on.
end.
It was complete
He sucked
nadir.
the energy out of
Yeah,
the
it
entire
was just-
film.
It could have been what's his name, that comedian that's like huge right now that does the Trump impressions.
Shane Gillis.
It could have been Shane Gillis acting as Trump, and it would have been better.
Yeah, and it would have been less on the nose.
Yeah,
too.
it was such a poor phoned-in performance of him just trying to be. I mean, like stupid levels of like him like. Well, how do you turn this thing on? Hey, how's it going? And I'm serious, like that's what the movie was like. He was so dumb, and they're like, "Yeah, look at the bad guy. Look at how dumb he is. Isn't he dumb?" And it's like, "Well, how did he get in power? You morons! Why does everybody follow him? Oh, well, he's just brainwashing them."
Well, clearly it can't be that dumb. If he manages to brainwash that many people, it can't be that dumb.
Get on a gigantic. He has the funds to get this giant spaceship and launch an expedition to another planet, but he doesn't know how to like tie his own shoes.
Keep in mind, Mark Ruffalo is a raging liberal.
Yeah, well, okay, the whole entire movie.
Liberal.
The whole entire movie.
The real person.
In real life.
Yeah.
In real life. He is Stephen King level tweeter.
Yes. yeah. So I'm sure that came into play with this
he's
role.
like, I'd love to do this. And like,
the problem is
like that's probably actually what he thinks Trump is like.
Yeah.
Which is a problem.
This is what Aaron Sorkin, the guy who did West Wing, said. Now, Aaron Sorkin, I think, has still like gone off the rails, but you know, when he was writing West Wing, they're like, "Oh, you do a decent job," because Aaron Sorkin's very liberal, and the West Wing obviously has a very liberal slant. But it's for some things, it's terrible on religion. It's like beyond bad on religion. But when it comes to showing Republicans in a decent and conservatives in a decent light, it does okay sometimes. But it doesn't make all the conservatives are not just like the most hateable characters. They're like humans, and usually
really?
Aaron Sorkin's like usually it's like, well, we're right and you're wrong. But, we understand where you're coming from, and you're human, you're just wrong.
You're wrong about a political issue.
And Aaron Sorkin said, like, if you can't put yourself in the shoes and you can only see them as an enemy, you can't write that character. And that's exactly where this is. Like, if you can't see why people would vote for Trump, then you shouldn't be allowed to write Trump because you don't understand it. If you don't understand it, and all you can do is project the worst possible interpretation. The most bad faith interpretation. Like, well, you're just a fascist, Nazi, homophobe, racist bigot. And it's like, no. There are like 10 of those.
It's like somebody walked up to Hollywood and was like, okay, like honestly, like tell us like the problems that Trump is having, and like show us a movie that depicts that. You see?
Yeah.
It's like, no, you idiot. Like, tell us. Actually, have a conversation. Like, we're open. We're sitting here. And it's like, that really is them saying, well, this is what we know about Republicans. And it's like we've seen good dialogue and characters that are ultimately bad in their actions, but that are well written. I think of the original series of Planet of the Apes. Watched the third movie, which is surprisingly great.
Of the Apes.
And it's about how the two apes come back to our time period, but now they're humanoid apes, and the whole world is dealing with it, and they react really positively. And I'm like, hey, this is actually a good, because I think so many movies would just be like, people are just throwing rocks at them for no reason. People are like, wow, this is amazing. They're on these talk shows, but then it's this one guy in the president's cabinet, and he's like, hey, I want to talk to you about something. So they mentioned that they come from a time period in the future where they wipe out all humans. And he's like, should we be worried about this? And the president's like, that's not that. You're right. Like, what have you thought about? And he's like, well, I think it's kind of inhumane to kill them. He's like, but have you considered maybe like keeping them from reproducing, like to kind of save our race? Are these things you're thinking about? Ultimately, this guy becomes the bad dude because he wants to. He essentially wants to sterilize them.
Mm-hmm.
And these are, at this point, they're human people. They just look like monkeys. And so it's a wrong thing to do. They're the main character of the movie. You don't want this to happen. But you get why the evil guy is turning evil. And you can get why the president is sitting there going, these are good thoughts. But the president ultimately is like, I can't get behind that. I think it's inhumane. He's like, I know what you're saying, but I can't get behind it. That's well written. There you go. You're proving your point. He's the bad dude.
And that one came out of left field for us, too, because the second Planet of the Apes was so bonkers bad. Just like mind-bogglingly bad.
Borderline heretical.
Not borderline. 100% full on into blasphemy. And you're like, where did this come from? But then the third one was like really good.
But my point being that you can make a character. You could make a Trump character and make him be the bad guy, but you don't you're just showing that you're an idiot if you're going to write him like that.
Right.
Like if you're going to write him be so stupid that it's like there's nothing about him like that could cause me to believe that he could function in any way.
I think one of the best written villains in the past probably 10, maybe 15 years is Silco from Arcane.
Yeah,
I'm gonna spoil season 1 of Arcane a little bit, but basically he is conniving, he's manipulative, he's violent, he's arrogant, he's coercive, he's narcissistic, but you understand exactly what he's trying to do and why he's trying to do it, and you see him change, not necessarily in a good way, but when he picks up Jinx and his whole plan is like, oh, I'm going to use you as a weapon, but then he actually starts to care for her, but he keeps making bad decisions because he's just a bad dude. But at the same time, you're like, I totally understand why you're doing this, and I just wish you would make better decisions. And then he dies at the end of season 1, and it's really tragic. Yeah. You're like, this was the worst dude in the entire series, and he absolutely deserved to die, but you still feel bad. He's like, man, if you had just made better decisions, well, that was a well-written
film. And we talked about it in the 12 Angry Men, too.
Yeah.
You have the character who is just nasty the whole time, and he's about as close to a character like this as you can get, where you're like, why are you just so nasty? But then at the end, it's revealed why, and you shed a tear, like you feel bad for him. You're like, man, it's not necessarily that
and they give you crumbs along the way as to why he keeps bringing it up.
Beautifully written
crumbs,
character.
and then they kind of tie it all together at the end. You're like, oh,
yeah,
that's why.
Like he hates youth, and he just thinks they all need to be locked up because he has a really strained relationship with his son. That at the beginning you kind of think, oh, he's just still a nasty guy and he hates his son, but in reality he loves his son and he's broken that his son doesn't want to be with him anymore, and so he falls apart and he finally gives in, and you're like, oh, what a great character. Whereas Mark Ruffalo's character is just like, at the end of the movie, he makes a decision to go out like did you? He's sitting there,
but he's so egotistical
with an imposing enemy, race of aliens that he thinks are eating people. Like, the reality is they aren't, but for his knowledge, they are. And he goes, oh, like, he doesn't even have this idea. Somebody else is like, oh, you should go out there and they should film you talking to the main alien. There was like a battle ensuing. These aliens are like threatening to blow them up, and so he's like, oh, that would be great. Yeah, let's drive out there. So he drives out there and he dies. It's like he was just awful. He's putting on this stupid fake voice that he literally
so awful.
It was almost calling himself dumb with the voice. He was like
it was almost like an old schoolyard offensive retard voice.
Yeah,
like it was legitimately that.
It was so bad to the point I was nauseating.
It was bad.
The dinner.
I was like,
scene,
how can you get away with this? Like, surely this is not
because they think that's Trump.
Yeah,
they genuinely think that's reality.
And so the dinner scene, right? Which is where so Nathanael and I, full disclosure, we watched it on a pub TV at my house.
We watched it on the open seas.
Fine quality
cord cutters.
It was pretty funny because
a couple
every now and then you just see a silhouette walk in front of it. It's just a shadow of someone.
Oh, no way! Is that what pub TV is?
Apparently,
I didn't think it was like that.
They get like, I mean, it didn't feel like, it felt like movie quality.
Like the audio was. That was the only thing we noticed.
It was the only thing we could notice. Audio and video was perfect.
Okay.
Anyways,
it was
when it got to the dinner scene, it gives you the option to play in like 1.5 speed. I just like leaned over and clicked it up to 1. That scene was so agonizing, where like he's just sitting there rambling and being an idiot with his wife just correcting everything he says. He's just like, well, if you put the cup upside, maybe you're gonna put it up. So, and I'm like,
honestly,
okay, why am I watching
let's be
this?
real.
Joe Biden.
Yeah, I was about to say it was really more of an impersonation of Joe Biden.
What if Mark Ruffalo comes out? He's like, yeah, it was actually
Joe Biden.
So the girl who, the lesbian girl,
Kai,
her and Mickey were invited to a dinner. Unclear as to why. Mickey won this thing, but randomly Kai showed up. They all sit down. Kai had just lost her girlfriend,
and they gave Mickey a steak, and it looked like raw tuna.
Well, that was the idea, is that it was kind of like they were testing out different kinds of meat, and that's why he reacted to it. And then she's like, I can't believe you would test kind of meat on him. And then they're like, we're literally going to reprint him tomorrow. And like, and again, it never explores the morality of all those things that you're actually interested in.
That's what it should have explored.
People keep asking him, like, what is it like to die? And he only answers Kai once, and he's like, it sucks. Yeah, it sucks to die. I don't like dying.
Yeah,
it's like,
that part made me.
That's the interesting part.
You should have like where he has like a really deep existential moment where it's like everything goes black. Then you start hearing the voices, then the light. But I'm at one side of the river. My parents on the other side. I can't cross, and then I get sucked back. Like, you could have done something there.
Yeah. That's why the first half of the movie I was like, okay. Then the second half of the movie is when it got into the Ruffalo stuff, the weird alien stuff. It's just throwing things at the wall and just see what sticks.
And
none of it stuck.
Such a long movie like 2
And it
hours.
was 2 hours, 50 minutes.
so
2 hours
bad.
and 20 minutes, and it's clearly supposed to be some sort of a comedy. And comedies
Yeah,
cannot
it's
be
a
longer
dark
than an
comedy.
hour and 40 minutes.
Well, so what I hated was that they keep showing everybody that asks him this question, what's it like to die, in a negative light. Like, how could you be so insensitive to ask that question? Literally, like, there's these guys that come up and ask, like, Mickey, what's it like to die? And then, what's her name?
Nasha, like,
Nasha comes up and
pulls
just
her
beats
gun
them
on
all
them.
up, and, like, there's this huge fight, and they all get locked up, and she's like, yeah, I would stick up for you. But then, later, what's her, the Kai is like, what's it like to die? And he's like, well, let me tell you.
I think that one, they kind of, I guess, again, they half-baked or less everything. But
Because they tried to do too
when
much.
when all the other guys come up and ask them, they're like, hey, so what's it like to die? Loser.
But
And
that's-
she's like,
that's my
what's it like to
point,
die
though.
because her friend got killed?
But still, like, that is my point, is that they're basically just asking in different ways. And one of them, it's like, oh, I can't believe you asked that. And the other one, it's like, oh my gosh, what a great question. It's
Right,
like,
but again, I think the intention of the on the one hand, they're mocking
I
him, and the
know.
other hand, she's being earnest because she wants closure for her friend dying. So that I can forgive that.
I guess.
But again, I'm giving the movie a lot of credit because they don't explicitly or even that implicitly tell us the explicit, like that one's explicit, like why he tells her. But again, it's like, yeah, it sucks. Like, well, thanks, Mickey.
Yeah.
I couldn't have guessed that. I couldn't have guessed that dying is not very fun.
There was just not a shred of charm
Nope.
in that movie from
No.
it was so lifeless. Every character, Mickey himself was like painful to listen to. Again, I'm not blaming actor guy Robert Pattinson.
His name's
I
Edward,
cannot get
and
any
he
kind of
sparkles in
names
the
out of my
sunlight.
Cullen.
I cannot I'm not blaming Edward, but his character was horribly unlikable. I mean, he's just miserable the whole time. He's just like, well, they took me outside.
And Mickey 18 was equally as
and
bad.
Mickey
in the
18
opposite
was
direction.
horribly mean, and then all the other characters were just selfish and awful. You have Mark Ruffalo's characters, just all of these just awful characters.
Yeah,
And I
there's
was
not
like,
a-
I don't care if
The
any
only
of them
character
died.
who
That's
wasn't awful was dorky scientist girl,
Yeah.
and she had like 5 minutes.
She was in
And
it like
even her
1/50th of
whole
Mark Ruffalo.
like, so the aliens, they don't kill him, which they assume he's dead because the aliens got there, but they bring him out of their hole and they like go back to the ship, and somehow by them touching him, he like clicks, he's like, and then he walks off. And they don't really address it, but you're like, ooh, he was kind of speaking their language, and maybe they're going to come back to this. So Science Girl goes, hey, I saw you. You kind of blipped around when they walked up. You can kind of speak their language. And he's like, yeah, I think I might be able to. And then they just build a translator. So it doesn't even matter. So at that point, he's just speaking English into the translator.
I
The
think it was
translator.
more like he was able to figure out that they were capable of speech. And that they were using the clicks to speak. And so she just built. Yeah, it was very like, and yeah,
Yeah, but
She's
he
just like,
started
yeah.
speaking
Yeah, yeah,
somehow,
yeah.
And I was like, oh, there's going to be this whole thing that he's going to be the only one that can communicate with him. And then Science Girl's like, I built a
built the
communicator.
translator.
That was
and
so
I built two
goofy,
actually. It
man.
was so bad.
That was so goofy. The big, and then it's like coming out in English, and I was like, "What is going on, man?"
This-
Would have been better if they like subtitled it
yeah.
in some way.
The scene where Nasha just like trashes Trump, and she's just like, "You're such a
F you,
fucking
F you,
idiot.
F you,
You're
so
so
dumb, you're
stupid.
so
You've never done
stupid."
anything." And he's like, "Oh my gosh, stop saying those things." Just like, what a stupid scene. Well, nobody needed a character to tell us that he's dumb. He's an idiot. In every scene he's been in, he's been virtually falling over himself. Nobody knows how he owns this giant spaceship. He just randomly breaks out in these videos where he's like, "I'm gonna tell you what, we're gonna make the planet the greatest planet ever," and somehow it's like,
The
oh,
whitest planet ever.
Look at all these
a pure
morons.
planet.
Yeah.
A white planet. A pure white planet. Like, we get it. Oh my gosh. It's called subtext, not overhead text. Stop.
It was so nauseating, man. Like,
Very
what?
disappointing,
How do you
man.
take?
And also, Trump is not a white supremacist. You fucking morons.
how do you take a movie that's a sci-fi that a really interesting idea, and it's like, so
Apparently,
you're
the book is way better.
you're in this moment.
Yeah,
You're like, okay,
yeah.
we got this guy. He's being reprinted every day, and they use him for these dangerous things, so they can just keep reprinting him. We'll call him an expendable. Oh, cool. What do you want to make the movie about? Space Trump and Kamala Harris winning.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, sounds great. But it's like, why?
It's so
Why?
weird though, because
I'm
like
so exhausted. with
it's
that stuff.
literally Bong Joon-ho is the director, was not predicting a commentary on American politics. Like that was the last thing I was like, well, at least it's not going to be about American politics because Bong Joon-ho's directing it.
no,
And
dude.
it somehow is.
His other stuff is way
It's
more
commentary,
subtle. It's way
but
more.
It's like Korean.
Yeah, and it's
commentary.
way more subtle, and you can still like
he's Korean.
Like Parasite is about kind of class issues
sure.
in Korea.
In Korea.
Right? And even from me, I'm like, all right, well, if you're trying to like read that into like American like culture, I don't agree. I don't think that people just randomly go around kicking people if they're poor. Like I don't generally think you see that, but I can recognize and appreciate that this is probably an issue he's dealing with, and the movie itself is very creative. All right, cool, good movie. Wasn't my favorite movie, but I think it's an incredibly well done movie.
I do think while America, I mean, we definitely have some class divides. I think generally speaking, because of just how America is, our class stuff is much less like extremely blatant like it is in like India or Korea or places like that, where it's like rich
India
people are like, I have a nice car, and poor people are like, I also have a nice car.
Right. Well, the thing about Parasite is it was just on classism.
Right.
Yeah.
This is on colonization of new planets. It's on
It hit on
morality of cloning. It's
everything.
on fascists. Like, it's like, what are we doing? Just focus on the one interesting thing, which was morality of cloning. That was what I was sold the movie was.
And please, for the love of God, make some characters that are likable to watch while you tell this story, please. And no,
if you want to make me feel bad for everyone treating him coldly, maybe he needs to not be a literal noodle.
Yeah, like he needs to have some agency of any kind, and you need to create some characters that aren't just like, why is everybody just like so absurdly, obnoxiously like brutal to him? They're just like, oh, rip his arm off. Oh, did you see? Oh, like,
and here's the thing: it's one thing if it's like there's just an expendable class, right? But that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like expendable is like a fairly rare thing. Like the technology is pretty highly restricted, so it's not like everyone just has constant interactions with expendables. He's the only one on the ship.
Yeah.
And everyone is like, oh, he's the expendable. We get to treat him like absolute shit. Like that doesn't really track unless they're just saying, well, everyone on this flight is MAGA, so they're all terrible.
Yeah, that's exactly what the message was. Just like, oh, well, we know what this ship is full of, and they're all just awful people. Which is like, why did Nasha get on this ship if she just thought everybody was terrible anyways? But you could very easily see this idea replace main character with some other more Chad character. Let me get my thought out. One more like a Chad character, and you could have him be like a badass who is an expendable. There literally is a movie called The Expendables where it's just a bunch of badass dudes, and it's like this guy literally goes out and he becomes an amazing fighter because he can die all the time. He becomes fearless because he can die, and all these cool things. And instead, they're like, it's this guy who weaseled his way into this position to stay alive and then is like looking for pity from everybody. He literally the most pathetic character you could possibly write, and they're like, everybody feel bad for him, and look, nobody feels bad for him because he's expendable except for this one person who just wants to bone him all the time. It's like, what did you create? Like, no, make him really cool, like make him a really neat character, and then make him have depth. Make it like, hey, you're kind of this badass all the time. Are you okay with this whole dying thing? And maybe he opens up to his friend, he opens up to a girl and says, you know what, it's the worst. And then he meets himself, and now it opens up all these other emotions that he wasn't dealing with before. But instead, you had this noodle just be pathetic the whole movie. For
I think
no
it
reason.
would have worked if he was a noodle in the beginning, and then he grew into a badass because he was dying.
Sure, yeah.
Like if he
Have
showed
some
growth
character
in that
growth
way,
at
but he
all.
was just a noodle and then a noodle at the end.
Yeah.
Yep. It
Brutal.
Was, there's the bi girl ends up with the one shaven hair girl that you see. Like, she has no dialogue, absolutely none. But you see her every now and then, and I was like, "Oh, lesbian girl's gonna end up with her." And I was 100% right at the end. They're together. And I'm like,
Bingo.
could
Nailed
you be more obvious? Like, lean into the stereotype more, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very extraordinarily disappointing.
Was there any part of this movie that we liked? Anything in this movie?
I like
Again,
Robert
the
Pattinson. You
premise-
guys hated on him more than I did.
The
I like Robert
premise is really interesting. And again, when there's potential, I think that makes it more frustrating when it's just bad from the word go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It had potential, and they went in the worst possible direction that I can't imagine who this movie is for.
Yeah, and it just,
Except Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo watched be like, yeah, that's what Trump's like.
and his cronies.
I own him. I own the chuds. I'm like, okay, Ruffalo.
Okay.
it
Mo-
blows.
movie lost money.
It just blows my mind that this is what like a 7 point something
It's
on.
crazy.
I'm like, who?
That
This
was
is just
a
bad
crazy
movie.
thing that I was seeing is people were giving it good reviews generally.
Yeah, I would just say
I didn't see none of the reviews I saw were even remotely good.
Really?
I know one person who thought it was good, but I don't trust her tasting movies. No offense.
I saw. Yeah, I mean, there's two guys that I reference a lot, or like whenever I say one of my favorite YouTubers reviewed a movie, it's one of these two guys. They both were kind of okay with it. I was like, what? It's like, what am I missing?
Well, Jeremy Johns is generally reliable, but he thought Heretic was a good movie, so I can't trust him
Jeremy
anymore.
Johns is one of the guys I was talking about.
Yeah. Well, he thought he's always pretty surface level, but he thought Heretic was a good movie, and I was like, bro, Heretic was trash. You have no idea what you're
Jeremy
talking
Johns
about.
doesn't really dig in.
No,
like
he kind of goes by vibes.
He
which
likes,
I
he likes
appreciate
movies.
that. I appreciate that he's just he's kind of a vibes guy.
Yeah.
Which I think it's good to have that kind of person where it's like, here's the vibe of the movie. If you're into that, you probably like it.
Right.
Yeah, I would say that the only redeeming quality is the premise, which they never dig into, which honestly makes you more angry.
Yeah.
I don't think that Robert Pattinson does anything great. I don't think he does anything bad. I wouldn't say that it hurt his. I really like
stock.
Robert Pattinson. Yeah, I don't think the stock, in my opinion, it doesn't move at all though.
Yeah.
I don't look at this.
I can agree with that.
I don't look at this and I'm like, hey, good performance. He did great. I just think that he acted in a way that didn't demand anything.
He was in that, wasn't he?
Yeah, nobody's gonna remember that, and he didn't act like he didn't have much depth at all. He could have done anything in that movie. You'd have been like, I guess that character is supposed to look like that. I have no idea. He could have just randomly started crying.
I will say, because they kind of made him like this little amazing. His head looked way too big for his body.
I don't know. A lot of people were like, "Oh, he still killed it." I'm like, he faded
fine.
away in the background to a character that was just not that great.
It's just such a
he
bad
was probably
movie.
fine. Yeah, didn't move the needle for me in any way on him. But the rest of the movie was just so bad. So I'm very little.
He certainly was the only good actor in the movie, which I guess he stands out. Especially compared to Mark Ruffalo, he definitely stands out as doing a good job.
Yeah. Ruffalo. Toni Collette was a real question mark in that movie.
Ooh.
She's the wife of Mark Ruffalo. She has been good in other movies.
The sauces, man.
And her character was just so horrible.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is I can't even tell if I would put it in the same category as Edward Cullen. I think that it's hard to tell if they did a good job or not because you were confused as to why their character was acting the way they were acting.
Yep.
So they could have done a really bad job, and I don't think I would have been able to tell the difference. So I do think that she is a good actor.
Yeah.
She was great as the mother in The Sixth Sense. She's phenomenal in that movie. Makes me cry when I watch it. She's great in a lot of things. I don't know. She was so extreme, over the top, to the point where it was just silly every
Now,
scene.
what was
she
that hallucination at the end?
He randomly has a hallucination.
Actually, what's the point of that?
About her cloning him, actually.
Yeah, her recloning Mark Ruffalo and her cutting herself and being like, taste this sauce.
I'm sure there's a metaphor there that I'm not going to research because it's dumb.
All right, so let's get into the rankings here, guys.
This is Joker 2 is a 0. This is a 1.
Well, I'm gonna name some other movies, and this might genuinely be around this area. So we have Joker 2. I have it as a 0.2 on my rankings.
Look, if I had to choose between this movie and that movie, I would just stop watching movies. I'm not. I'm dead serious.
Come on, Mickey 17 is better than
if I could
Joker
watch it
2.
in a different language, I might enjoy it more.
Mickey 17 is not much.
Mickey
better.
17 at least has things to look at.
It's visually okay.
Visually, it was fine.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's the only thing you enjoy about it. Visually, it was fine.
Okay.
Not outstanding, but it was fine.
So is it better than Trap? Better or worse than Trap? I know we're
Trap
splitting
is
hairs.
shorter. I would watch Trap. It was also terrible, but I would watch Trap.
I would watch Trap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that
God, that pains
that
me.
Trap
at
literally
the
makes
end,
it the second
the thing
worst
is,
movie
Trap
we've
at the
seen.
end, I was just like, well, that was stupid.
Dude,
this
that
one was just
pains me.
pain to watch. I would put it on the level of Joker 2 where it was excruciating to watch.
Yeah.
I had no enjoyment. At least Trap, I was like, well, that was stupid, and just laughing at how dumb it was. But this, I got zero enjoyment.
I would sooner rewatch Trap than Mickey 17, which is
100%, which is crazy.
I think it would actually really be close between Joker 2 and Mickey. Joker 2 was long, dude, and Mickey 17 was also long. So
they're both long.
There was just nothing I would rather rewatch in that movie. There wasn't I'd like to see that part again.
Nope.
Nothing.
Nope. Yeah.
Well,
it's definitely on the level of Joker 2 in terms of how much I enjoyed my experience with that movie, and it was physically painful to watch.
I have it as a 1.0, and I have Joker as a 0.2. That's my ranking.
Yeah.
Trap is a 3.
I'll give it a 1 because it at least had things to look at.
Yeah.
But I won't go higher than a 1.
I'll give it a 3 because I love Robert Pattinson.
Fair enough.
I feel bad for him.
He's a shill.
So let's go on the higher end of the scale. Where are we looking at Boondock Saints? I'm going to name some movies. You guys tell me what you guys think.
Under Gladiator.
So yeah,
For sure,
okay.
for sure.
So I'm going to name Nosferatu.
I would rather watch Boondock Saints just because Nosferatu wasn't
Same.
my kind of movie.
Same.
I think I would rather watch Boondock Saints.
Yes, Boondock Saints for me. Den of Thieves 1.
Definitely more than Den of
Boondock
Thieves 1.
Saints.
Definitely
Yep,
higher.
more.
Slingshot.
Yep.
I got Boondock Saints. 12 Monkeys.
Yes. For
Yeah.
me.
12 Monkeys isn't like a really rewatchable
Yeah,
film.
it's not. It was an interesting sci-fi, but I would definitely do
Boondock Saints is one where you can watch it again. It's
I could watch it
fun.
right now, and I would be like,
Yeah.
cool.
Even if I was just like, let's just watch Willem Dafoe.
Like
I could do that.
I could go and watch the firefight scene on YouTube
Yeah,
right
a
now.
YouTube compilation of Willem Dafoe. Yeah.
So these are the 3 movies that I have it very in close. So I have A Place Beyond the Pines, Wild Robot, and Boondock Saints, all very close. Where would you rank those 3?
I would probably go for me. Wild Robots first, no question. I think Place Beyond the Pines is better than Boondock because Boondock's again a really fun movie. I think Place Beyond the Pines is a really good movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I would put Place Beyond the Pines above Boondock, but I put Boondock above Wild Robot.
Yeah, we know where you put Wild Robot.
Wild Robot.
you
We
cretins.
still talk about Wild Robot. That was over down there
That's
by
because
Trap.
we have it up there. Yeah, you're a cretin. We don't need to listen to you.
I have the reverse order of Nathanael, but I mean, again, these are splitting. These are by like 0.11%. I just have Boondock Saints, Place Beyond the Pines,
Again,
then Wild
I
Robot.
realize you guys are cretins when it comes to animation. Greg, not as much.
No.
You 100%. But
I love-
when I think about the
100%.
story of Wild Robot, I think it was much more profound than anything in Boondock Saints.
I agree.
That's definitely true.
I agree
yeah.
with that. 100%.
Definitely true.
And then above that, we have 12 Angry Men and Gladiator, obviously.
Yeah, it's not going to beat
Like,
those.
yep,
And
nothing-
Good Will Hunting too. Are we past that?
We haven't watched. That hasn't been in the time that we've been ranking.
That's not this ranking.
Movies,
Okay.
no.
That just checks out.
Which one?
Good Will
Will
Hunting. But yes,
Oh, yeah.
obviously.
I mean, I would put Good Will Hunting up with 12 Angry Men and Gladiator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in that category. All right, so I gave Boondock Saints an 8.2.
Yeah, I would give them more of tier. I would do tier list more than I would
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, that's the S tier. Is
Yeah.
12 Angry Men Gladiator.
Yeah, I put Boondock Saints at an 8.2, probably in the tier below S tier, probably in the A tier. But
I might put 12 Angry Men in like an S plus tier where it's like it's such a unique and special movie that I think everyone should watch it.
yeah,
And then S tier would be we should do a tier list at the end of season 3.
that would be fun.
That'd be
And we've got them all here, so
Yeah.
we can throw them on.
We'll make some felt. I'll print out some pictures. I'll do some felt. That'd be fun.
We're improving
Do
from the
craft
poll
project. Yeah,
that we
that
put
was
down.
janky as hell. No, we'll put up an actual board here.
Are
and
we looking
can,
for the next one?
So that's what we got to talk about now. Is
Yeah,
what are we
what's
doing
in theaters
next?
right now? I legitimately don't know.
Do we dare
No,
watch
absolutely not. If you're saying that, no.
Death of a Unicorn?
Death of a Unicorn.
That one looks weird.
Just for
man.
just for banter.
That's just one of the new.
It was like
the
this
new
weird like
horror,
black
right?
comedy.
Paul
no,
Rudd and
it wasn't.
Jenna
It wasn't a
Ortega.
horror. It was a black comedy. I do love Paul Rudd. You know what? I could watch it. I don't think I'm gonna like it, but I could watch
I
it.
don't think I am either, but that's the only like kind of relevant.
You want to
What's-
watch Ninja too?
What's the movie? What's the movie that we saw the trailer for, Nathaniel? We thought looked pretty cool with that one dude that played the one dude
Thanks.
that played Queen.
The Amateur.
The
The
Amateur.
Amateur.
That looked interesting.
When
That-
is-
I would definitely be down
When
to
does
see
that come
Amateur.
out? Is that in the next 2 weeks?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
It comes out April 11th.
Guys,
April
No,
11th.
That'll be our next one. What?
So
Oh boy.
no, I don't even want to hear this.
Disney Snow White
No,
Oh,
God,
on
stop.
no.
on
Please
Pub
no,
TV
please no,
on
please
2
no,
times
please
speed. Pub TV 2 times speed. Pub TV 2 times speed. Yes. Okay, we're gonna make William sit down and watch it.
Do you want to do
guys,
Snow White
Minecraft
and
movie?
You want to do Snow White and what did I just Death of a Unicorn?
Death of a Unicorn.
There's a new Jason Statham movie coming out. Working Man.
Absolutely not. April.
You
11th,
don't like Jason Statham movies?
I'm not in the mood for that. Nor am I ever. Really, to be honest with you.
I mean, it's
Have
a
you ever
typical.
seen Snatch?
Snatch is good.
Snatch is
so
great.
good.
Snatch is
It's the one.
But that's
time
the
though
one time he's not-
being typical.
And I
Jason
guess
Statham.
Lock, Stock, which is the same movie as Snatch, but just it's like a prototype for Snatch. Snatch is
Snatch
the
is good.
perfected version of that. The Amateur is April 11th.
April 11th is the
Yeah.
Amateur and Warfare, which kind of looks interesting.
What's that one
Warfare.
Did you see
is-
Warfare? I mean, it's a war movie, but the trailer looked so good.
Oh, I think I did think that looked pretty solid.
It's got a good cast of like young and up and coming actors.
yeah.
the-
Okay. Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
the
yeah,
you
trailer
want to
was
watch
dope.
this
That's
horror
the only
movie with
reason I know
Anthony
that.
Hopkins?
It's the
Locked?
same director as Civil War.
Okay,
That-
yeah. Okay, I did
yeah.
see that. I do.
Do we
want
want to watch the horror movie where Bill Skarsgård and Anthony Hopkins are locked in a car together?
No.
Hour and a half.
No.
So wait, okay, so we're fine with doing Death of a Unicorn, and are we set on? I really don't want to do Snow White.
I really don't
Everybody
wanna do
just
Snow White.
unanimously is going to know that movie's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, there's not going to be any
Let's
controversy.
you and I watch it on Pub TV on 2 times speed and see if there's anything worth talking about.
and then we'll tell Liam that he has to.
Exactly. Oh, Accountant 2, April 25th.
Let's go.
Let's go.
That'll be in like a
that's
couple
hype. I didn't
shows.
realize April 25th. Let's go.
Cheech and Chong's last movie.
So we'll do Death of a Unicorn.
Thunderbolts.
Oh gosh, there we go. No.
Live action Lilo and Stitch.
Holy.
Okay, sorry, we're getting too far. Well, let's look. Just look for this next 2 weeks.
Death of a Unicorn.
Okay, so what's coming up? So Novocaine, I have no interest in that.
No, boo.
Captain America, no interest in that. Kind of want to see Dogman.
Guys,
Monkey,
Novocaine's not
you guys have
getting
any
bad
interest in the Monkey?
reviews, though.
What is?
Novocaine's not getting horrible
I
reviews.
have no interest in it though.
It looks so
it looks so
bad.
stupid.
It's not going to be great, but
Guys, we could watch Mufasa, the
it's
Lion
going to be
King.
better than Mickey 17.
It might be
probably.
a point though. We might just need to watch it because it's relevant.
I don't know. I don't care about relevancy, Greg. I don't want to watch that movie. I'm vetoing that one.
All right,
I'm
he's
using
vetoing
my
it.
veto
I
on that.
guess that's fine.
You can feel free to watch it, but I don't want to watch it.
Okay. All right. Well, we didn't want to watch a lot of these movies, Nathaniel, but we did
All
for
right.
the show.
Upcoming. I'm just gonna read them, and obviously most of these are gonna be no's.
Okay, well, hold on. These are in the next 2 weeks, right? This is something we can watch for
What
this
week
next
is
show.
it? What week is it? What day is it? It's the 18th. So yes. So Snow White and something with Robert De Niro called Alto Nights are opening this weekend.
Say double no to those.
Wait, hold on. Okay, I'm confused. Alto Nights follows two of New York's most notorious organized crime bosses, Frank Costello, De Niro, and Vito Genovese, De Niro. Is he playing the same? What?
Mickey 17.
I'm so confused. So that's coming soon. Those are both opening March 21st. When's our next show? What's the date for our next show?
Our next show will be on the 1st, April Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day.
Psych. We should say what we're watching these movies, but then we actually just watch Lord of the Rings.
We should watch an April Fool's movie.
Is there
Is there any good April Fool's movie?
There's a movie.
Groundhog
There's
Day
a
an April
horror
Fool's
movie
movie?
called April Fool's Day.
No, thanks.
Yikes, that looks pretty bad.
Those are the only two movies that are coming up.
No, Groundhog Day is a Groundhog Day movie.
Whatever. It's all the same.
Do you have any interest in The Monkey?
Is that a?
There's that horror movie where the demon just kills a bunch of people in
no.
gory ways. Yeah, yeah. There's really nothing else. I mean, I just don't see anything else.
So we're
worth
gonna do
watching.
Snow White just so we have something to trash.
No, let's again. If our movie in theaters is going to be
Death of a Unicorn.
Death of a Unicorn, then let's do something on at home.
Well, okay, well, let's try to find themes to at least run with.
Unicorn.
Is there a April
My Little Pony.
1st movie?
I don't know. I don't need a theme, Greg. I just want to watch a good
April
movie.
Fool's Day is the only movie I saw, which looks horrible.
Looks bad. We could watch Glory because it's going to be close to April 9th, which was the end of the Civil War. We could watch Glory with Carrie Elwes and
Glory.
Glory, yeah, it's a movie it's got Carrie Elwes and Denzel and Morgan Freeman. It's a Civil War movie.
Sure, I'm to watch that.
I've never seen it. It's actually on my watch
Let's
list.
do it.
There you go.
Let's do it. All right, we're watching Glory and we're watching Death of a Unicorn. So, to our loving fans, we appreciate you. Whatever. I guess
Watch old movies; they're better.
Old movies are much better. So please just go and watch them. And give them a send off, guys. What do you have to say to our loving fans?
Get the hell out of here! Who do you think you are? Coming into my podcast?
Been a pleasure.
You think you can come into my podcast? You talking to me?
It's
you
either-
talking to me? It's Mickey 17.